Okay, the picture on screen that you see there, I actually took that maybe 10 years ago, and I had it in a PDF that I put online. This is back before Google and all that. So I just did another search for homemade traps and it actually come up. So someone else had uploaded it a couple of years ago and it's stuck on one of the archive sites. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remake that trap that I made back then. I'll go through every step and tell you the tricks to making it work, and then just to prove it works, I'll catch a bird in it. So start with a wood board about 2 times as long as it is wide, and I've bent some nails into a U shape and hammered them into a line along the centre. Now I take a loop of high tensile fencing wire and thread each end through those loops. This wire is 2.5mm in diameter, which is the thickest I had on hand. I'd prefer a bit thicker, but this will work as long as it's high tensile. The thicker the wire, the larger you can make the trap. So this is what it should look like. So enough overhang's been left out the side. You can bend the ends into a single loop torsion spring. Now take another couple nails that have been bent in a U shape, or fencing staples if you have them available, and hammer it over the wire in the spring, just enough to hold it in place, not tight down around it. So you should end up with something that looks like this. As you can see, we're making what is in effect a big mouse trap. Now take a larger nail and bend that into a U. I'm going to use this to hold the retaining rod down. Now you want to make the bait pan. I just cut this out of a sheet of galvanised iron in the shape shown and bend it to resemble this. Now take some fencing wire and bend it into a square staple to hold the bait pan. Now with the same fencing wire again, we're going to make the rod that holds the trap set. It's now time to fit the netting. This is just orchard netting. It's really cheap and lightweight, so just bind that in string around the edge. Keep the net deep enough that the bird will get lost in the netting. Use an extra length of the fencing wire along the back to bind the net to that. So the net's now been fitted, but we're not quite finished. Now this is the main innovation that allows you to use such flimsy fencing wire yet still hold a bird. We're going to lock the trap shut by using a couple nails. So hammer 2 nails in about 1/2 inch out from the outer edge of the wire ring. Then you want to bend them outwards at about 30-40 degrees. So what this will do is when the trap's triggered, it'll bend into an oval shape which will go over over those nails and spring back underneath them, which will lock the net down. So the trap's now ready to use. Now the bait plate that I've made was good for bread and meat, but most of the birds around here are actually seed feeders. So what I've done here is rivet a lid off a tin can down to another bait plate and fill it full of seed. You'll notice a problem here, and that's they just peck the seed off and don't apply enough pressure to trigger the trap. That's because we've used thin fencing wire for the retaining rod. There's too much flex in it, but we can get around that problem. What we can do is bind the seed together. For this we use egg white. So just mix that into the seed, then place it in the oven at about 80-90 degrees Celsius for about an hour. So when that's done, it'll harden, and I'll have to use a lot of force to get seed off it. So now, unlike nearly every other trapping video on YouTube, I am going to catch something in it. Also notice that I've bent the torsion springs a larger radius. That's because it wasn't holding enough tension, so that's an easy cure for that. I've filmed this at 300 frames a second, so it's playing back 10 times slower than normal. So this bird's a native, it's a top-notch pigeon, but he can still show that it works. He gets to get released. So that's it for this movie. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up always appreciated. If you want more of the same, subscribe.